Joe?
Yeah.
What's the highlight of your career?
The highlight of my career, being born in the world.
Joe Frazier made aggressive fighting an art form.
When Frazier throws punches, he wants to kill you.
He grew up in South Carolina. They didn't have any money. They weren't educated, but he was especially well-spoken with his hands.
He was relentless. There was a lot of punches. You take one to give two, but you had to get inside to give one.
Joe was a very proud man. He never kissed anybody's ass.
He didn't want to be a political symbol.
I speak from my heart, you know what I mean? The way I see things and the way I feel.
Joe loved cars, fighting, women, and music.
Music to Joe Frazier was his sanity. That's what you saw when you saw Joe perform.
Joe Frazier was a warrior, man. Without Joe Frazier, there wouldn't have been no Ali.
I'm the champ, you ain't. You the champ, right on.
That kind of rivalry, we'll never see something like that again.
Three of the biggest fights in history. It's no coincidence.
There was another side to Joe. He had a big heart, do anything for you.
If a car's broken down, Joe Frazier will stop every time. It's just in his DNA to help.
White America always thought Joe Frazier was this blue-collar working man, but man, he was the king of swag.
No one ever did get Joe Frazier right. No one ever got the real Joe Frazier.
How we doing there, guys?
There's a lot of things in my life that the whole world just don't know, because I never sit down and tell them.
Ali Frazier, the fight of the century, March 8th, 1971, transcended the sport of boxing and entered into this realm of America at the highest order.
Everybody was talking about Ali and Frazier. It was the beginning of the mega fight era.
Frazier, Ali. It was polarizing.
He's the Uncle
Tom.
The guy talked from the side of his mouth.
He was the bull and the matador.
He's the other type Negro.
He's a phony.
Who do you root for and why?
Frazier's gonna win.
It's a hell of a way to present one's society to the world because, you know, that's what it meant. Every punch that was thrown had a subtext behind it.
Totally different styles. The one area where they were very similar in the ring was that they were both mean, nasty, SOB fighters.
Joe Frazier was prepared to die in that ring that night.
Joe came out of ugly origins, and boxing became his way out.
Round one.
I was born and raised in beautiful South Carolina. But my original home is the South.
Joe's family, they were sharecroppers.
It's not intellectual, it's hard living.
It was slow, it was hot. Bugs everywhere.
It was survival.
Joe Frazier has had to face adversity not from the moment he was born, but from the moment he was conceived. He was in his mother's stomach. She was pregnant with him when his dad had an altercation in which he was shot in his left arm by a friend.
Shut off by like a jealous husband of somebody that Ruben might have been doing the wrong thing with, or the wild thing, as Joe would say.
His mom was shot in the same incident. Could have killed Joe Frazier.
Joe Frazier didn't grow up in Beverly Hills. 1944 in rural South Carolina is really not that far removed from the end of slavery.
His earliest memory, he would be sitting on his father's knee, and his father would call him Billy Boy, and you know, he was known to be like a daddy's boy, and he was basically his father's shadow.
Mom and dad had like probably 15 together. Out of all of them, you know, like I was the youngest one.
And being his dad's favorite, Joe had to become his dad's left arm.
The whole setting of that story, the drama, and how it ultimately came full circle with him using the left arm that his father never had and become world famous was really extraordinary and in a way poetic.
Back in the country, they had like maybe 1 or 2 televisions, you know. Used to get around there to watch fights at the time.
And you had boxing on TV several times a week. Everybody knew who the heavyweight champion of the world was.
And there was Joe Louis and Rocky Marciano, there's Charles, Jersey Joe Walker. My uncles and my aunts and my father used to say, you know, that kid, look at him. Look at the body structure. Say, one of these days, that boy gonna be a Joe Louis. I knocked my arm out of place when I was a little boy.
Chasing after a hog and was told not to, and fell and broke his arm.
My mom said, listen, you go down to the pen, feed the hog, do not tease him. I said, yes, ma'am. When I went down to feed the hog, I started teasing him. And he was a big old bull, man. He was that high. And he'd jump on the fence. He couldn't run no faster than me. I took away from him. But when I tripped and hit the brick like took the arm out of place. And back in them days, Mom and Dad didn't have the finance.
They had no health care insurance. They had no money to go to a hospital.
My dad didn't have the love. You know, you spell that, right? M-O-N-E-Y.
His mom and his dad always said he was a fighter.
He had the bag when he was a kid, that bag that he built with his own hands and hung it from a tree. He filled it up with peat moss, corn cobs, shoes, wood, whatever he could put in there.
I grew up with a bad arm, but they never stopped me. Come home in the evening, I had like 30 minutes to punch the bag. It was like a daily recitation.
That's where his power really came from.
The roots of his thoughts and his gut feeling came from that time in his life, what his mom and his dad put in him.
So I decided that I'd find a better way for Mom and Dad.
Joe Frazier was able to come from the most difficult beginnings and get to a very lofty place in this world.
Tell them one of these days, I'm gonna build y'all whatever you want. I'm gonna be the champion of the world.
Growing up in Beaufort, South Carolina, there were hard times, but when you actually lived in those times, we really didn't know any better.
I couldn't understand why they had different schools. I couldn't ride the bus. I had to get out of town a certain time during the day.
Joe got into a little bit of trouble as he got a little older, not older, much older, at 15.
Joe was 14, 15, worked on a farm. This black kid is being accosted by this white man.
We had problems, you know, racial problems, you know, with my white brothers. I never could understand why, because we all had the same arm, the same leg, some of them short than others.
Joe had stuck up for this black kid, and the white man decided that he was going to beat Joe with his belt. Joe said, me and Joe, I wouldn't do that, man. Joe's mom said to him, listen, if you can't get along with the white people here in Beaufort, you better leave, because it's not going to end up good for you.
Joe was forced out of South Carolina, but he never, ever held any grudge towards that.
His mom put him on a bus with a couple of legs of fried chicken. Whew. And he took the bus on his own from Beaufort to New York.
What a horrific childhood, and what it took to get out of there.
This is a free land in which we have a right to work anywhere.
Joe Frazier came to New York in 1959 and moved in with his brother Tommy.
They got through a little bit of trouble there. I mean, they tried to start a little side hustle.
We call it freedom of opportunity.
I was borrowing cars that was mine and then bring it back.
And it means there is a free market for our skills.
I had to leave because that wasn't gonna work, you know, being a thief. And I lived with an aunt. She was like a maid. And my uncle, who was here, His name was Cadillac.
He was married at 16 and had kids. He was acting like a grown man at that point.
During the day, you work at all kinds of jobs when you can find them. Money's scarce, particularly when yours and Florence's son Marvis comes along in September of 1960.
I got married when I was real young.
He was working in a slaughterhouse. He put on weight.
At the age of about 16, I was about 230 pounds. So I had a little problem of, fitting up with clothes. So therefore I couldn't afford the clothes. So I had to find something to do, get that weight off. And then I found out I had a punch. When I went in the gym, they had about 12 heavyweights in there. And by the time I left out, I was the only guy in the gym.
Fortunately, you meet someone who sees potential in you. Joe, your close friend and manager since the beginning of your boxing career, Mr. Yancey Yank Durham. You saw Joe's potential early, Yank. Huh?
Yes, Joe is a dedicated boy. His determination was so great that I figured that Joe would go all the way.
In a boxing gym, trainers like to keep training sessions controlled, but Yank Durham didn't let Joe do that. He let him be as ferocious and aggressive as he could possibly be.
A lot of people don't know that when I first started with him, he thought he was the type of fighter that could move around the ring. And I said, look, this mindset is something we have to stop. You're too short for a boxer. You're a fighter, you have the power, and you got to keep applying pressure on these fighters.
Felt like that relationship was a father-son relationship.
And Joe relied completely on Yank Durham.
Mr. Yank Durham, God bless him. I didn't go anywhere without him.
Frazier won 38 of 40 amateur fights, grinding through all opposition to 3 Golden Glove titles.
I had all knockouts before I went to the tryout. I'm telling my family and my friends, hey, I'm gonna beat them all.
Round 3 of the 1964 Olympic trials between heavyweights Buster Mathers and Joe Frazier. Mathers is enormous. He weighs 300 pounds.
I didn't think Mathers won the fight, but he got it anyway. So came back with a little tear dripping down.
Joe lost to Buster Mathers in the Olympic trials, but Buster broke his hand, so Joe Frazier went to the Olympics.
Tokyo was like a whole different world altogether. Saying like that. He was 231 pounds, and nothing but muscle and bone. I said, come on with it. I dropped in 2 times. 3rd time, he come back out. And that's where I bust up the thumb then.
He broke his hand in the semifinal and had to figure out a way to fight in that final with that broken hand.
Joe had his own medication.
With some hot water, some salt, and sugar. An old remedy that Mom used to give me and Dad,
Dolly, his mother, she was just a beauty. Cornfed pipe, sitting on that front porch.
Dolly would eat dirt every day with a spoon. She would go out and find some of this peat soil stuff and eat it. And I asked Joe what it was about, and he said that's where you get the goodness. She wanted the minerals from the earth.
Joe Frazier was from Gullah culture.
In the Gullah culture and tradition, we were spiritually into the church, but at the same time being into root and witches, spirits. You couldn't go to a doctor. So Joe always concocted things.
They came from his childhood, the most obscure things you could imagine to fix something.
Whether it was the flu, whether his back was hurting, arthritis.
Sometimes he'd write on the jar what it was. You might just put hair grow on there. If you've got bad hands from hitting the bags, come here, son, let me put some of this stuff on there.
Joe used to take big mayonnaise jar and fill it with liquor and orange peels and rock candy and have it sit and marinate for about 2 or 3 months and shake it up. And every time we go someplace, he would take some of that, and that would be his medication for whatever ailed him.
His big thing was Westy's tire cleaner. There's a special cleaner that they had for the limousine company, for the white walls. So he'd spray it on their toothbrush and brush his teeth with it. Gargle something, maybe Cavassier, maybe lemon juice. In his mind, he was like, hey, if it's gonna make the tires white, it'll make my teeth white.
Joe Frazier made the most of his opportunity in 1964. He was going to get the job done no matter what. Fighters have many times fought with injuries that they sustained during a fight. But it's very rare that somebody goes into a fight with that kind of injury. It's emblematic of Frazier.
Joe Frazier, who was concealing a broken thumb, won a gold medal.
Joe was very patriotic. I think he was the only American to win it, and he was so proud of that.
Nobody won a gold medal but me. It was like a great thrill to know that I saved America.
1964, when Joe came back from the Olympics, things was awful hard for Joe and myself.
Time was real bad. I didn't have a job. I was working at the slaughterhouse, and then I got laid off.
Look, he was a guy with a bad hand, wasn't particularly verbal.
Joe Frazier was country, you know, and Joe didn't have the wordplay to deny this. He was a reflection of those country roots.
An Olympic gold medal was a very different phenomenon economically in those days. And at that point, there was no way of knowing that he was going to become the fighter that he became.
Well, I then spent most of our savings to buy food for the kids and pay the bills and rent and everything. His hand was broken, he couldn't work, and I had the children to care for. I couldn't work. We was just sort of stuck.
Well, I was going blind in '64 when I came back from the game.
He had shrapnel in his eye from the speed bag, a little sliver of steel that cut into his eye, his retina. It made him 80% blind in one eye, and he fought his whole career that way.
Blind and broke wasn't no fun.
Yank, you told Dr. Gray that you thought it would take at least $5,000 to get Joe launched on a professional fight career.
That's true. I sit and talk with Dr. Gray, and I asked him about a cooperation. So he talked to various people, and we got the cooperation together, and that's where we are today.
Mr. Wright, how and why was Cloverleaf formed?
Dr. Baldwin had asked me to give him a method of sponsoring a prize fighter.
How did you get involved with Cloverleaf?
Well, I read about it in the newspaper, and I called Dr. Baldwin regarding a purchase of a share.
My dad showed up at the next meeting with 500 hours, and now he was one of the founding guys of Clover Lane.
We guaranteed Joe $100 a week for 3 years, and this was before any earnings had come in.
Cloverleaf really looked out for Joe Frazier.
Isn't it kind of unusual for a woman to be part owner of a boxer?
Yes, that's what made it so thrilling.
They were guiding Joe's career. They didn't want to exploit Joe. They wanted to see that Joe was fairly treated.
It's a real good feeling, you know, that you really got people like that behind you, and they're wonderful people to be with.
You could kind of brag to your neighbor or to your boss or coworkers that you owned a fighter. They would sell these shares of stock, and they were $250. The Joe Frazier Cloverleaf story became popular. As time went by, they increased in value to what I remember someone saying like almost $14,000 a share.
Do you think it was a good investment?
Very good. I have no complaints.
I was rooting for Joe Frazier, who I loved as a boxing fan. I loved watching him run through the heavyweight division.
Frazier was the only American to win a gold medal in the 1964 Olympic boxing championship. And Frazier down.
At 11-0. He faced a very tough fighter in Oscar Bonavena, a South American fighter who had power in both hands. And because of the style Frazier fought, it was two trucks coming together.
Bonavena is probably the stronger of the two and has fought the more experienced opponent.
That one particular fight, I didn't like the way I performed. You get punched.
Frazier down again.
There was a 3 knockdown rule in effect, so his career at that point could have been short-circuited.
He was trying to get that third knockdown with a push and a shove, because he knew if he'd pushed down the third time, they were going to stop the fight.
Yank Durham was furious. Joe had gotten sloppy. He had started to believe that he couldn't be hurt. I lay hands on them and they fall.
And there it is, the final bell.
That was a real crucible for him early in his career, but still won a decision.
But you came on to win. I want to congratulate you. You're still undefeated, and you're certainly a wonderful prospect. One of these days, we hope you have you in a title fight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joe Frazier.
Thank you.
The man to beat me haven't been born yet.
He said he was the greatest. Nobody could beat him.
I'm the heavyweight champion of the world, and I don't have to talk no more and say I'm the greatest because people tell me I'm the greatest.
I came out of mama like this.
I am the greatest. I am the king.
I want to shut him down.
I'll be champion. I couldn't stay in the ring 10 more years, easy, I figure.
So you're not prepared to discuss your feelings about the Vietnam War?
World
World heavyweight champion Cassius Clay refused to take the oath of induction into the Army. The black Muslim fighter, who's also known as Muhammad Ali, was immediately stripped of his title by the World Boxing Association.
My intention is to box to win a clean fight. But in war, the intention is to kill, 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 and continue killing innocent people.
Muhammad Ali refusing induction into the United States Army during the height of the war had enormous sociological and political impact.
Muhammad Ali was prohibited from fighting, and Madison Square Garden said that New York State would recognize a championship fight between Joe Frazier and Buster Mathis.
Even the fighters themselves know that they cannot be considered world champions until they fought Muhammad Ali.
What are your feelings about the demonstration against the fight?
I know anything about it. Got the fight on my mind. I get out there and I go to work. And as long as Mathis want to be there and be smoked on, I'm going to smoke it.
Even before I turned professional, I seen him annihilate Buster Mathis. He beat that boy, and finally knocked him out. From that point on, everyone was afraid of small guys. Frazier was not big.
He got the maximum out of his physical abilities, fighting, the best of competition. Eddie Machin, George Chuvalo, and Oscar Bonavena twice.
The second Oscar Bonavena fight, I was 10 years old. Joe's son Marvis and I were around the same age, and we were pretty good friends. My dad, of course, put us at ringside. I remember it being like kind of a brutal fight.
I hit him and everything. Nah, he just wouldn't fall, man. He was a tough guy.
After the fight was over, they rushed Marvis and I back into Joe's dressing room, and I see Oscar Bonavena walk in, and Bonavena did not have his eyes open because they were swollen shut at that point, and somebody had to lift his arm to put it into Joe's and to shake his hand. The brutality of that sport struck me that night for sure, and it doesn't leave you. It's a brutal, brutal sport.
Tomorrow night, Joe fights Jimmy Ellis for the World Heavyweight Championship at Madison Square Garden.
Music was what he enjoyed doing, and people let him do it.
But right now, here he is with the knockout singing Knock on Wood.
Go on the Ed Sullivan Show before the day he's going to fight Jimmy Ellis.
Live, and it was live back then.
He's supposed to be resting. I mean, this guy was like made of concrete.
Not only was he doing a good job in Ed Sullivan, he walks in the ring and does his day job extremely well.
Champion Joe Frazier takes on Jimmy Ellis.
The bob and weave style, the staying low, like the Henry Armstrongs, the Tysons of the world.
That's my old trick about fighting, you know what I mean? Stay close on a man and take the room away from him.
There was a lot of nuance to what he did. You know, he would use his jab on different levels. Then he'd double with the left hook, so that surprised you. When you perfect it, it's very tough for any opponent to deal with.
Jimmy Ellis, Joe is just too relentless and too powerful for him.
He goes out and knocks Jimmy Ellis out in 5 rounds.
Joe Frazier becomes the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world in Madison Square Garden. An elated Frazier.
America in 1971 was divided over the war in Vietnam. It was divided over racial issues.
Think about the assassination of Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, and of course, Muhammad Ali's 3.5-year exile.
Black people got to the point where they couldn't take it no more. To make some people understand sometimes, you have to use bottles and bricks. You may don't intend to, you don't want to use it, but then again, you just have to sometimes.
Muhammad Ali and Joe really became surrogates for that culture war. Muhammad willingly, Joe unwillingly.
When he came to the politics and the wars and stuff, he said, I'm not qualified to make a judgment on that.
For Joe Frazier to be a champion, he's got to beat me.
He said, "You got my title." I said, "I ain't got your title. I didn't take it away from you. Huh? You know what happened. You didn't fulfill your responsibility. That's why he lost his title."
There were times during Ali's exile when they were quite friendly.
Before he had his title stripped from him, I had a lot of respect for him.
Joe was helpful to Ali in different ways.
He said, "Go for it. I need to go to New York." I said, "All right, I'll take you to New York." I put him in my car. I took him to New York. We got to start talking. He said he didn't have enough money. I couldn't remember what it was, $500, $200, $300. I gave him some money. So we got into New York. He got out the car. "Joe Frazier, got my towel. I want my towel." "Man, come on, man. Give me a break. I brought you. That's Joe Frazier."
You, Joe Frazier, I'm gonna knock all of y'all.
Ali was angry. He'd been stripped of his title. He was being treated by many Americans as an object of scorn.
Take it easy, man. We get the contract together. Just chill out, you know what I mean?
Joe said to me, "This scam booger's got my money in his pocket, and he's talking bad about me the whole time going back." He said, "Yeah, I was talking to him in the car, but I was thinking of how I'm gonna kill him in the ring legally."
I helped him with a lot of things that most people wouldn't do. We went to the President of the United States, President Nixon. "Mr. President, for me, would you give Muhammad his license?" You think you can take it? All right, I believe I can take it. I got it in my back pocket.
When the white man took his title and denied him a chance to do anything, to make a living, Joe Frazier stood up. He came to the plate.
The main thing, we were responsible for him to get half of the purse. And after he got this money and got a little foothold, you know what I mean, he tried to do everything and say everything to put me down.
He was the champion of the world. But therefore, if you ain't got something right to say to me, then you better keep it quiet, because I'm gonna peel off and hit you.
It was $2.5 million each that they got for that fight. That was the biggest sports payoff that an athlete got in the history of sports.
It's the biggest fight because for the first time you've had a witty, quick, fast-talking heavyweight champ when the most of them asking the question, "How do you feel, champ?" Die.
I think a lot of black people hear Ali saying, in addition to everything else, you're a country boy, you're a farm boy. If you want to really get deep, you know, you're a field slave.
Ali called him stupid, called him ignorant, called him Uncle Tom, because he knew Frazier was sensitive to that. Then a white man is controlling you.
Because he's the Uncle Tom.
Joe Frazier, you's the Tom. Tom? Ain't no peeping Tom. What you talking about? Ain't peeping nobody's window.
He told me, "Look, this guy keep calling me an Uncle Tom." And he said, "I don't want my wife thinking that I'm peeping in windows." He actually thought he was calling him a peeping Tom. He didn't know what an Uncle Tom was.
He's the other type Negro. He's not like me.
It was damaging to Joe, and it also made that demeaning treatment of a certain kind of black person acceptable, which it shouldn't have been.
He's a brother. One day he might be like me, but as of now, he works for the enemy.
Ali had tried to paint Joe Frazier as an Uncle Tom and somebody that wasn't a part of the solution for black people, but was still part of the problem.
Why did he insist on calling me Cassius Clay when even the worst of the white enemies recognize Muhammad Ali? He keeps saying Clay. He's still Clay. He gonna stay Clay, and to me, he's gonna always be Clay.
Joe, for a long time, did call him Ali.
Ali made a statement the other day that he wants $6 million.
It wasn't until Ali started disrespecting Joe that Joe started calling him Clay.
I'm tired of these Uncle Tom Negroes.
You might be considered ignorant. Uncle Tom is an entirely different thing.
It was very hurtful to his kids. It's understandable that Joe harbored the ill will that he did.
You talk from two sides of your mouth. One to the white and one to the black.
Many people, as we all know, rooted for Muhammad Ali openly because they saw him as a symbol of the anti-war movement, and wrongly, Joe Frazier was somehow cast as this darling of the older white establishment in the United States.
It's real difficult for someone to say in public, "I hate that Muhammad Ali." So Joe serves the purpose of camouflaging some of the racist ideas of certain individuals. Now, these people, they don't give a about Joe Frazier. The reality is they like Joe because he's fighting Ali.
I was there to get the job done. I can't let the people down.
Look at me, steady as a rock.
To Joe, it was a battle of really of religion. He felt like he was destined and called for that position.
Every person of note was at that fight, whether they were in politics, entertainment, sports, you name it. We know it's a big fight when Frank Sinatra is a photographer at ringside.
Yank Dorm, his trainer, told him before the fight, if you win this fight, your life's set up forever.
That was truly the fight of the century. There hadn't been a fight like that with that much magnitude, that much interest in the history of boxing.
Joe once told me that right before the fight with Ali, he was in the dressing room and he asked for some privacy. And he claims somebody came into the room and talked to him. And he went out and he was upset with the security guy. He said, "Who was it?" And the security guy assured him nobody's been in that room. But Joe swore he got a visit from a man wearing white. Then he told me, he said, "Rich," he said, "when I was in that room," he said, "God came to me." He said, "You know, like, God, can I ask you a question?" And God said, "Certainly." He said, "If I kill this tonight, will you forgive me?" And he said, the Lord said yes.
The undisputed heavyweight championship of the world.
Muhammad Ali in the red trunks, Joe Frazier in the green trunks. They appear very light. Frazier will try to bore in and catch this man.
I don't think that Muhammad was ready for the pressure.
Joe keeps coming in.
As he was attacking, there were many different nuances, and all the while, a big part of it was the head movement.
Some of the shots that I hit him with, it would knock down buildings.
Oh, that must have hurt.
I went back to the cone. I said, "Yank, what's wrong with this guy, man? He didn't know all I got." Just go right back where you left off on them body shots, you will fall like the rock.
It is new for Muhammad not to be in control.
If anybody is psyched here, it is not Joe Frazier. Look at that hook.
That night, that fight, Joe was possessed.
Frazier's just laughing at him. Round 11.
I caught him coming out the corner. He was going to my left. I caught him the hook on a ricochet. Boom! If it wasn't the rope was there, he would fall out of the ring.
All right, this is the final round of the fight, and what a fight it's been.
I threw 2 left hook at him. Second one on the chin. Bang! Boom!
The 15th round knockdown, the coup de grace, man. Joe walks away, and I'm sure he's thinking, am I Uncle Tom now?
He said to me once, he didn't realize how much the correlation was between him using a left hook and being his dad's left arm.
My father, you know, he had one arm and I was his left hand man. So therefore I learned to use my left hand more than I did my right hand. Really? We go in the woods and probably pull the saw, you know anything about that?
The knockdown came from a signature Joe Frazier move that nobody in the sport has ever done better, and that's a double left hook.
It's the most beautiful, timed work of art shot you'll ever see in the history of boxing. And Joe didn't get his just due because Ali bounced back up.
In any other universe, that knockdown would be discussed as, well, Joe Frazier punctuates a big win with a knockdown in the 15th round. No, the narrative is, how did he get up? It's amazing.
We sitting 3 rows ringside. Boom. His back didn't even stay. Just boom, he just come right back up and stood up and looked at him like that. I said, okay.
It's part of the bigger narrative that somehow the achievements of Joe Frazier overall, and especially as it relates to Ali, kind of get overshadowed.
If I didn't dust him off, he might have got the decision. But he got hurt in the 3rd round, 11th round, and every round he got hurt. Trust me.
It's just hard to surpass what Muhammad Ali represents in 1971. So even though Joe won the fight, he still cast in Ali's shadow.
The winner by unanimous decision,
Joe just collapses in Yank's arms, and he gives him a fatherly hug. It's a fatherly hug, not a trainer's hug.
I feel like I did let's say, a blessing to the world.
The action was so good, I heard 2 people died of heart attacks in the arena. The people in Northern Ireland that were having their troubles, apparently they stopped fighting and watched the fight on the same TV in the bars. It stopped the world.
One of the things that people tend to forget was that Joe won that fight.
That was the greatest fight of all time, and Joe Frazier won that fight.
You think he was clowning? He couldn't move. All them body shots been piled up on him. 1, 2, 3, that's up.
He would have died before he allowed Muhammad Ali to beat him.
I know what the people like to know why I went to the hospital.
Joe actually had started to have physical problems after the Jimmy Ellis fight. He had issues with high blood pressure.
I used to go to the doctor every day after training, make sure that blood pressure is right. I take a handful of pills, you know what I mean? Like, hey, babe, what's happening? What's happening?
Doc want to check me up. He checked me up and find out that blood a little high.
I was with him the whole time. For 2-3 days he was in there. I was watching his blood pressure go up and up and up. I said, if we got to 300 and some, he would get a stroke.
Muhammad Ali wins when he loses because all the interviews afterwards, he's going, look at me. Not a mark on my face. Joe Frazier's all busted up.
If you look at Frazier's face and look at mine, there's no comparison. I'm sure I hit him 3 times more than he hit me if you watch the film.
Joe got much less enjoyment from his time as world champion than he would have had if Ali had painted a different portrait of him.
I feel like I'm ready to go, man. I'm trying to get out of here as fast as I can.
Number 1, he's ugly.
It's a shame, because Joe's experience was far more typical of the black experience in America than Ali's, and they should have been allies rather than adversaries.
And who told him he could sing? He got him a big band and started traveling the world with his new title, figuring that he's gonna sell them all out.
What is there to worry about? The fighting money is good, the singing money is good. Look, and I can do both of them, you know. Why sit around and let it go by? And I'm having fun while I'm doing it.
Every time I would read the paper, they said Joe Frazier appears at this place in England. The arena held 10,000, 37 people showed up.
He's going off on this concert tour, like, you know, and that to me is an indication of, like, you know, he's not really being a disciplined soldier to his craft, man.
Girl, try to remember.
A fighter's life is broken. He was too courageous to admit, you know, that I'm really not cut out for this thing right now. I think I've hit my peak.
Joe Frazier did what he had to do for the world, and that was quiet the butterfly. After 71, he was the people's champion. So he became the partying Joe. He was with people everywhere, drinking and having a good time.
He had an eye for the ladies, always.
He had some of the prettiest women on the planet.
He loved women. He would go like this, "Ooh, look at that, Bo. That's an 18-wheeler over there." That's what he would say, because she was built in the back.
But Dad was a hard-working man. He drove the farm bus, pick up the workers in the fields with their old ladies. So Dad had control of all the females, which Mom didn't like that, you know, but that was my daddy.
So when his dad was running moonshine, Joe would be in the car. So he said, we pull up to this place, he goes, and he had me waiting in the car for friggin' 2 hours. So one day I got out of the car and I sneaked up the driveway. He said, I look in the window, and I see him kissing a woman and all that. I said, that's son of a gun. So I'd run back and I would hide in the car and wait.
And Ruben would be gone for an hour or two. And when Joe got of a certain age, he would go in and chase the daughter.
He said, so after a while, I started kissing the daughters. It's a true story. He said, I started kissing the daughters.
Yank Durham was an old line boxing guy, which meant that if you had the heavyweight champion, you'd take easy fights, you'd pick up whatever money's available.
Frazier cutting him to ribbons now.
The title is just here, you know what I mean? And I have it. So anybody would like to try to take it from me, these guys gonna have to challenge me. And these guys ain't doing nothing but making noise.
The boxing organizations said enough. Frazier had to fight the #1 contender, who was George Foreman.
George Foreman, back then, was a beast.
Foreman is fresh and good. Frazier, since his bout with Ali, has only fought twice, and both of those opponents were nobodies.
The old bromide that styles make fights is never more evident than in this match.
Well, they're trying to psych each other out.
I expected Joe Frazier to beat George Foreman.
We may have an interesting evening. Frazier, quite understandably, the favorite.
When George comes out and makes that first swing, that is saying, hey, I'm here.
There is no fear in George Foreman.
That's a lie. He's terrified of Joe.
The one guy I gotten into the ring with that I was really frightened of was Joe Frazier, because I'd followed his career. I'd seen him stand up to everybody. You hit him hard, he liked it.
Foreman had this strategy of pushing Frazier off. He was physically strong enough to do it.
When George was pushing Joe away, he's upsetting Joe's balance.
So many times in that fight, and it didn't last long, you'd see a left hook whistle past the head of Foreman short.
I think he hurt Joe Frazier. I think Joe is hurt.
We're driving in the car. I said, Champ, tell me what happened when you fought George Foreman. He said, he hit me and my leg shook.
Angie Dundee, Ali's trainer, right next to me is saying it. You may hear him. Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier!
Down goes Frazier!
So I tried everything I could, except the man hit like TNT.
Foreman is all over Joe Frazier! Frazier is down again, and he may be... No, he is rising!
Getting hit on the chin like that, that's tantamount to having your computer unplugged. He was still functional. He was like a zombie.
2 knockdowns in the first round of Joe Frazier. Down again! No saving by the bell!
I keep getting up every time knocking me down. He got mad one time. Joe, would you stay down?
Frazier's knees buckled. He is down. He is down for the 4th time in the fight.
Why don't you stay down there, man? I'm tired of knocking you down.
Foreman had the perfect style to beat a fighter of Joe's style. He was too big.
It is over. It is over. George Foreman is the heavyweight champion of the world.
They could have fought 10 times, and George probably would have won all 10.
Just one of those things. Joe got caught with a good shot, and no fighter, I don't think no man would have stood up under that shot.
Getting up 6 times after being knocked down 6 times, that's courage, man. And we have to admire that in Joe, because he was willing to die.
You gonna see the rematch?
Yeah, I'd like to fight, or, get a rematch with him.
Styles make fights.
I think styles have a lot to do with it, but then after he'd beaten Muhammad Ali, there wasn't that much left of Joe Frazier. If I'd fought him 2 years earlier, it wouldn't have been like that. I didn't fight the best Joe Frazier. Believe me, he wasn't the best.
What we know now is that Joe had started to slack off in training.
Lee Grant was here, God rest his soul. He was Joe's driver and his dear friend. And he said to me, Bo, don't listen to a word he said, because 2 weeks before the George Foreman fight, he was hanging out with this one and that one, you know what I mean? So he didn't take him serious. Oh, yes, I did. And they started to get into it a little bit, like with one another.
He didn't make any excuses, and he gave George all the respect.
It was no fight. Guy just came and took me out. He was much too powerful for me.
Yeah, down goes Frazier, down goes Frazier. That was a Hall of the West.
Down goes Frazier. I mean, hey, come on, relax, man. That's not cool.
Joe was a sensitive guy, and he had feelings like everybody else.
Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier!
Sad news from the world of sport. Yank Durham, longtime trainer and manager of former world heavyweight champion Joe Frazier, has died. Durham suffered a stroke 2 days ago and passed away this morning at Temple University Hospital. He was 52 years old.
I really don't know where to go and what to do now. He said that he was going to let me know when he thinks it's time for me to retire. So I'm very relieved that he will come back and let me know, you know, in a dream what to do from here.
When Yank Durham died, it was real easy for any foots to just slide in.
There are a half dozen trainers in the sport of boxing that reach legendary status. Eddie Futch is one of those people.
If you couldn't get along with Eddie Futch, you didn't belong in this world. He was really, really a nice guy.
I would say as of now, both of us have our loss, and now we're going back to each other to determine who's the best.
The second Ali Frazier fight was certainly less anticipated than the first.
Neither guy was champion at the time. It was 12 rounds, not 15.
Ali Frazier 2 is sort of like The Godfather Part 3. It's easily forgettable.
That was almost 3 years ago, Muhammad. You lost.
White people say I lost. And that's some white people. All black people know I won.
Ali put all sorts of very ugly labels on him that Joe was never able to shake.
When they both got in the studio with Howard Cosell and Ali created the mayhem he created, playing on Joe's raw emotions, that ignited the fight. And it ignited the interest in the fight.
Sit down, Joe.
Why you think I'm in?
Sit down, Joe.
Huh?
Sit down quick.
Why you think I'm in?
The brothers are here.
This too?
No.
Sit down quick, Joe. I'm here.
It's a great piece of television.
There is no question in my mind that Joe Frazier is not clown.
When you hurt somebody who looked out for you, tried to get your license back for you, come on, bro. Really?
I would say to Joe, he don't pay him no mind. He's just talking because that's Ali. He wants to get your goat. I'm gonna get his 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 goat.
Bell for round one, the action begins.
The second Ali Frazier fight, there was a ghost standing right next to Joe, and that ghost was the person who was knocked out at the hands of Big George. It's not easy to overcome.
And that was a good right. Joe was staggered there.
Ali shook Joe. Referee Tony Perez thought he heard the bell.
Referee Tony Perez separates the fight across for the end of the round, but I didn't hear a bell.
Then the fight resumed, and there was talk afterwards that Ali would have knocked Joe out if Perez hadn't made that mistake. No, I mean, let's do the numbers. 41 rounds of boxing, and Ali never knocked Joe down.
The problem was that we were trying to find a referee to break up the mugging around my neck with his left hand.
The fight is about to end, and it is over. Muhammad Ali has won the fight on a unanimous decision.
I don't think that was that far off. You know what I mean? I would say I throw more effective punch anyway. So I got no argument about nothing.
You ever hear Joe Frazier crying? Stand-up guy.
George was the champ. So Ali Frazier, too, was more for bragging rights and the right to fight George Foreman next.
George Foreman was just, it's hard to convey to people just how he was demolishing individuals who got in the ring with him. Both Joe Frazier and Ken Norton beat Ali, and George Foreman barely broke a sweat.
When I fought Muhammad Ali in Africa, fear had all just disintegrated. I had no longer any fear for anything. This was gonna be the easiest fight of my life.
Lands in the head of Foreman. Foreman with that right.
Joe Frazier fought Muhammad Ali in Madison Square Garden. He would have died before he allowed Muhammad Ali to beat him. When I fought Muhammad Ali in Africa, I fought a Joe Frazier reincarnated.
I thought George was gonna catch him a little earlier. The guys that fought Muhammad, they let him have his way. They let him move when he wanted, throw punches when he wanted. No.
And so while Ali has regained the mountaintop, Joe is almost, I think, forgotten. But you have their rivalry. It's mythical, it's literary, it's cinematic.
Joe Frazier had kind of rehabilitated himself a little bit. He beat Corey, he beat Ellis. That got Frazier back in a position where they could sell the third Ali fight. These two men and their styles was so compelling that people had in the back of their mind, wow, this is still something we should pay attention to.
Without Joe Frazier, there wouldn't have been no Ali.
Imagine if after winning the Rumble in the Jungle, Ali says, I'm done. That's a perfect narrative, but, you know, life doesn't really work that way. So, Ali Frazier, one more time.
Here's the way he looks when you hit him. Come on, girl, we in Manila.
Ali's treatment of Joe Frazier, the demeaning portrayal of Joe, hurt a lot more people than Joe.
It involved a lot of unfortunate comments around his appearance, his intelligence, the sort of thing that racist white people would say perhaps in private about a black person. Ali's saying in public,
I'm gonna keep this gorilla with me every day until the fight.
It reinforced the stereotypical view that some people had of black people. Slow-moving, shuffling.
Growing up in that desert just like mother and dad.
This is indeed a proud moment for me to welcome the people of the world to the saga of our lifetime. Super Fight 3, the Thrilla in Manila.
The Marcuses, who ran the Philippines, knew nothing about boxing. They wanted Ali specifically in a big fight because they had a big problem with the Muslims in Mindanao, and they felt that they could calm everything down if they brought over this great Muslim to fight in the Philippines. The fighter that they wanted him to fight was Joe Frazier.
Muhammad stayed at the palace, and I stayed at the hotel. I was into politics, you know. I was into sports, being a champion, and getting the job done.
And here's Joe Frazier coming into the ring.
The feeling was that Joe was shot, that Ali will dance around for 8-9 rounds, knock Joe out, and we'll go on to the next fight.
It's 15 rounds, and here is round one.
The Thrilla in Manila was a fight in 3 parts. The first part of the fight, it looked for all the world like Ali was exposing Joe as a fighter who just had lost his ability to fight in the upper echelon of the heavyweight division.
Muhammad was handling Joe for 3 rounds, 4 rounds. And then all of a sudden, boom.
I don't think I've ever seen a sporting event turn as dramatically as that fight turned in those middle rounds.
Frazier is very strong.
Joe came into that fight fueled by absolute hatred.
Ali took more punishment than I think anybody would ever be able to take. Joe Frazier landed hellacious shots, and somehow Ali withstood them. All of a sudden, the fight turned again because Joe Frazier just ran out of gas.
And Ali is scoring on him.
He had vision problems in both eyes. And Ali, as exhausted as he was able to summon up the energy to land those straight shots as Frazier was coming in, and the Frazier head movement was less than it had been earlier in the fight.
13th round, Joe can't see out of his left eye. Muhammad was trying to cement, the victory. He throws the right hand. Joe's mouthpiece goes flying. Essentially, it's target practice. There's a moment in the corner where Joe drinks the water and spits the water out, and the water is completely red. It's not water anymore, it's blood.
Eddie Futch had let the fight go on after the 13th round in the hope that things might change. They didn't. He was getting hit again and again and again. After the 14th round, Ali and Joe went back to their corners. Both men had been brutalized. Joe was getting hit by punches that he couldn't see coming.
My right eye got closed, the left eye, I couldn't see out of it.
The doctor comes up and looks at Frazier. I think it's going to be over.
In the most difficult moment to stop a fight, on the biggest stage you could possibly have, Eddie Futch had the courage of his convictions to realize Joe was in trouble and in danger of being hurt badly.
He said, let's go. I told him no. He said, no, wait a minute now. Don't do my job. I said, all right, go ahead and do it.
It's all over.
One can't stand up, one can't see.
I heard that Muhammad wasn't gonna get him off the stool, but that's not my corner. And I wasn't over there to see that.
Oh my God. That's a supremely human moment, man. We can see the child in Joe. We can see the lover in Joe, the beast in Joe, and we can see the human hurt animal in Joe.
Eddie Futch called a fight because he just couldn't see Joe Frazier continuing on while it wasn't popular with Joe Frazier, and Joe had difficulty with it. Eddie Futch, he never felt regret because he knew it was the right decision.
I'm not mad about it because I can see, I can walk, I can talk, I can have a good time.
That night, Marvis was in Manila. Muhammad called Marvis into his dressing room. And when Marvis got the apology from Muhammad, I tell your dad's a great champion and a great man, and I said everything I said just to promote these incredible fights. Marvis came running back into his dad's dressing room to tell him, and Joe lost it and said, "You ain't Joe Frazier, son. Why ain't apologize to me?"
But he is great. I don't know no other fighter today besides myself who can beat Joe Frazier.
Going beyond the result, which says KO 14 in the record book, you could almost look at that fight on some very primal level as a draw.
I don't think there were any winners.
It was the bull and the matador. It was everything anybody could ever want in combat. These guys were made for each other.
You look at Manila and it's an advertisement for everything that's best about boxing and also for everything that's worst about boxing.
They both left everything in that 20-foot ring.
Going forward, life for Ali, life for Joe Frazier will never be the same. They're beyond their prime. It's not going to be glamorous and celebratory and spectacular. They end that fight as two old men.
Joe fought Foreman again. They didn't even sell all the tickets there.
Look what he's done. He shaved his head.
Champ, what happened the second fight? He says, the second fight, I trained to kill him. I said, Smoke, I'm telling you, when I watched you fight him, your midsection was thicker. No, Bo, my weight was right. I said, Smoke, listen.
Joe Frazier weighed in at a surprising 224.5 pounds. 8.5 more pounds than he's ever carried.
My working is always forward. I don't know how to back up. That's the only way I know how to fight.
Then when I stepped in the ring, I looked at him and I backed up. Joe Frazier never backs up in a fight. He said on that particular night, I was backing up, waiting, because I didn't want to get hit with them punches.
Frazier against the ropes.
Foreman was absolutely devastating when he fought a smaller guy.
I was blind as I am. I wear 2 contact lenses now. I tried to move for a while.
Frazier trying to fight back.
But then he knocked the lens out.
I knew what Joe was going through when he was fighting with one eye, why he stayed so close to you. And I know how Joe Frazier passed his eye test, too. He's the one who told me how to pass it.
One right, hurt Frazier. Frazier is down from a right.
He said, we don't switch eyes, you switch hands. I would cover with this hand. Then when he say switch eyes, I would switch hands. And the doctor would never say nothing.
Frazier taking it from George Foreman. Foreman, not Foreman again with the right. Second knockdown in the round.
The only thing I did wrong is sign that contract 2 times. That was the wrong thing I did, okay?
Harold Garland says the fight is over. Frazier, as game as ever. But now, inevitably, the boxing career over for Joe Frazier.
Joe Frazier would want to be remembered as a great world champion, the people's champion. He loved people. His heart was as big as the Empire State Building.
I'm pleased with Joe Frazier, and I'm pleased with the public, and pleased with the fan, and I think for the consideration that you have for me, I think that it's time for me to put it on the wall and go ahead and just boogie, boogie.
In 1978, I would have been a junior in college in a small school in northeastern Pennsylvania. And Joe was singing at a lounge in Scranton, Pennsylvania. So, of course, all my friends were like, "Are you getting me?" "Yes, we're coming." And that commercial had just come out, More Like commercial.
When you order a beer, do like Smokin' Joe. Order light beer from Miller and say no more. It's got the
Joe starts singing a couple songs, and I guess during a break, somebody yells out, "Do the Miller Lite commercial." And he goes, "All right."
lifeless feeling, hey, that really knocks me out.
Before the end of the night, he probably sang that Miller Lite commercial like 15 times. And then sat down with all my college buddies and drank beer with us the rest of the night. We go, "Joe, sing that commercial again." And he'd sing the commercial. And he made my friends that night, feel that if they were friends of mine, they were friends of Joe Frazier's. And that's why I loved him.
In the early 1980s, I got to work with Smokin' Joe Frazier as a knockout singer, and it was a real thrill. I'm still riding on a cloud. I know a lot of people used to say, "Oh, Joe can't sing," but when you went to the show and saw that this man was really singing, and he was really expressing himself through his lyrics, you could feel his expressions, that he was taking you from the gym, taking you from when he was growing up, taking you from now performing the song. He was like telling you a story of what he did throughout his life. You could see that it's just something that touched his soul, and he wanted others to feel the same way. Touch the soul of you, and you, and you. That meant so much to him.
White America always thought Joe Frazier was this blue-collar working man, but man, he was the king of swag. He was way more swag than Ali ever was.
When he comes in, the room shines up. The electricity's just start spreading everywhere.
It was always about the best suits and the colors that popped, and the gold chain and the gold rings and that hat that nobody could sport like Smokin' Joe, and a big wad of cash always down in his sock, sometimes both his socks. And he took a lot of pride in that.
If you are a star, you shine everywhere.
There was a benefit in Atlantic City. Joe Frazier and the Knockouts were going to come on right after my wife and her sister, the Rocco sisters. And Connie was coming down some stairs, and she had one of those combs that had like a tip on the end that you would tease your hair with, so it was very sharp. And her heel caught on one of the stairs. She lunged forward and stabbed Joe Frazier in the stomach. He went down to one knee and uttered this immortal line: "The bitch stabbed me." So security rushed in, and of course she was horrified, and everyone was horrified, but they had to run out on stage, so she ran out on stage after the incident. You can't make that up.
It's 4:30 in the morning, and former heavyweight champion Smokin' Joe Frazier is running through the frigid streets of Chicago on what he hopes will be his comeback trail.
Not bad, old man, huh?
When fighters well past their prime continue fighting, like Ali did with Berbick, what Joe did with Cummings. They can say whatever they want. It's pride, they still have it, they want to feel young. There's only one word why it happened, and that word is money.
He's coming out of retirement after 5 years to fight Jumbo Cummings, a relatively unknown 30-year-old who spent 12 of those years in prison for murder.
Joe with Jumbo Cummings and Muhammad with Trevor Bervick. They were fights that should not have been sanctioned. But in boxing, that's allowed. Why is that? But, you know, I get it. I get it. But I don't get it.
Removed from Manila by 6 years, it just demonstrated how much that fight took out of each of them as well.
Happy ending. You knew that wasn't going to happen.
The decision, a draw.
It's hard for an athlete to leave the game when they're on top.
I got a chance to go down as the greatest athlete, not boxer, in history. I can make so many people wrong.
Obviously, it didn't work out well. It just was not a good evening on every level.
Ali Frazier, in terms of their career, their life as professional boxers is over, and there's nothing spectacular or glamorous about it. Life sometimes is not kind, but it's always real.
Joe definitely lived his life on North Broad Street at that gym. And, you know, people could walk in there every day and say hello.
Joe bought the gym after the Foreman fight. It was $87,000.
It looked like some of the movies I'd watched on TV. Street life, it's North Philadelphia, ghetto. When I walked in, I just thought, this is where greatness is.
I sit down and teach these guys. I'm not gonna be afraid to go tell them that's wrong with it, because I've been there.
Joe came and said, hey, you got to put more weight on your left leg, Tim. Putting the weight in between my knee and my ankle, putting it down there and then turn, bam. So my left hook, he taught me how to do that, yeah.
Take the room away from him, Mark. Damn, breathe on him.
The top of the gym was a rooftop. So he decided that he was going to turn that rooftop into a bachelor's loft.
When you walked in Joe Frazier's office, he had a great big desk. He would call his back office the dungeon. He had a little refrigerator. We had liquor back there. Then he would lift his couch up like Godzilla, and it just picked it up, and he had all his guns piled on top of each other.
The second story was just a big warehouse, and at the back of that was a dormitory for fighters. It had no hot water. The opposite side of the steel door was crack addicts.
And we put 6 beds in the back of the gym, a heater, and a kitchen.
Man, it's cold water, and you know, it was drafty, which I was fine with because it was really made you fight harder.
When Joe comes into the gym, first thing he does is walk up them steps, go to his music, hit play, come back downstairs, and let's work.
Joe Frazier had the fighting Fraziers, and he just put everything he could in his fighters. They couldn't be him, but they all wanted to be like him.
What time is it? What time is
Marvis Frazier had a good amateur record, and Marvis Frazier was a very tough fighter.
The referee, the only man who can stop the fight. Round 1.
Larry Holmes is a serious fighter.
And here's Marvis with the hands down.
Marvis got a little cocky, and he dropped his hands.
That could be a big mistake.
Marvis Frazier's career probably got accelerated, maybe because of the opportunities for money fights, partially because of who he was.
When Marvis gets hit, you could see in Joe's eyes how he was hurting for his son.
It had to be very difficult for Joe Frazier to experience that, you know, in the corner.
I think they pushed Marvis a little too fast because it was easy. It was fun for Larry. Larry just was playing. Like he was playing, and to me, that was embarrassing.
Joe loved Marvis. They were so close.
I would wait. My name is Marvis Frazier. My dad is Joe. Try to build it up a little bit more, and maybe they could got $2 million. But they did it, and this is the result, so.
But that's the name of the game. Win.
Tyson comes out slugging.
He comes out smoking like Marvis's father, Joe.
They said Marvis tried to fight like Joe Frazier. Joe's not a good trainer because he trains everybody this way. And Joe's answer was, you better be able to fight like Joe Frazier if you want to make it.
Uppercut, and Marvis is hurt.
Frazier is down.
I don't think Marvis ever disappointed Joe. Even in the fights he lost, Joe was super proud of him.
When you saw Marvis Frazier with his father, there was such respect and admiration and love from Marvis towards Joe. It was something very, very special.
So what I know about Marvis when he had his two big fights, Larry and Mike Tyson, Joe, the way he told me was it was to kind of help the Fraziers out and get a little love, M-O-N-E-Y, in his pocket.
He was just in the process of a divorce. He was in the process of moving out of the mansion that he had, the house that he had with his wife, Florence.
Joe loved his family. You're with somebody for so long, you kind of fall out of love,
Joe had 11 kids and 6 different mothers.
Joe and Marvis, those guys were like this. Marvis is a God-fearing, righteous man that almost the polar opposite to Joe when it comes to the party atmosphere. He'd just say, oh, Pop, man. He'd say, Pop, not again, Pop.
Joe took care of his family. He made sure financially that he lived up to his obligations. As a father, as a man, once a month, we would sit in the office and make up envelopes. And I've never said this before to anyone. I would personally hand deliver the envelopes to different mothers because Joe wanted to take care of his children.
Anytime he made a bunch of money, he would always make sure the kids are good and his grandkids were good.
If you have 11 kids, that costs a lot of money, and that's going to drain you no matter how much money you're able to make.
Life is conflicting. Boxing is conflicting. Having your father as your trainer is conflicting.
Don't worry about it.
Joe had 5 of his relatives in the gym, different weight classes. The one that he felt had the most talent was Hector.
Oh, G-Man about to come alive.
Joe called him G-Man, and he fought under Joe Frazier Jr. professionally.
21-year-old Smokin Joe Frazier Jr.
No fear at all. He'd grown up on the streets of New York. Hector was the real deal.
Has a big left hook, and a straight right towards another left. Smokin is on the bottom strand of the rope till he goes down.
He was messing with the wrong people. He got involved with substance abuse, and his life went down the wrong road. And Joe did not approve at all. He would tell him, I worked my whole life to make this Frazier name something special, and you're it up.
I might go to bed saying to myself, what if you do lose,
When he got arrested, that hurt Joe. So he ended up going to jail for a long time.
That's a setback for you. You don't want no setback.
Joe, I think, was way more sensitive than people realize. It hurt Joe so bad. Joe used to always say when he was hurt, he was like, I just swallowed a razor blade.
Hector would call when he got busted. He said, I'm fighting 3 and 4 times a day, man. He said, they're challenging me. They're challenging me because I'm Joe Frazier Jr., tired. And he wanted to talk to his dad.
Joe wouldn't talk to him for a long time. He didn't take the phone calls, and that's because he was swallowing razor blades.
In the beginning, he would visit him, and then he stopped.
It really took a toll on Joe, and it broke him. As a father.
Hector was his own man, I guess, and he made decisions. I had a disease, whatever it was, the calling for that kind of life.
His downfall was something that was the toughest thing that I saw him go through during my time with him.
And their relationship never got to where it should have been between a father and a son.
Muhammad Ali apologized to Joe in the New York Times and said if God called me into a holy war, I'd want Joe Frazier there right beside me.
That's what he said about you.
Yeah, well, I was going back down. Yeah, that was Joe.
I got so excited I called up Joe. Champ, I think it's time. Let's make this happen. Because you know what, Prince? You tell that son of a bitch, why's he got to speak to the damn reporter, why can't he do that to my face? And I was like, oh my God.
There were times when they'd get together and Joe would be civil, but for the most part, the hatred was there and it remained.
I put an agent spin on it. Joe said it's not a sincere apology. He'd like it to be to his face. And then Ali, of course, came back with, when you see Joe Frazier, you tell him he's still a gorilla.
I'm gonna keep this gorilla with me every day until the fight.
His way of saying who won the fights, he would compare his physical abilities to Muhammad.
Joe Frazier would turn around and go, yo, Bo, look at him. He's telling people he's got Parkinson's. He don't have Parkinson's. He's got left hookitis.
We got a call from Howard Bingham's son. Hey, I'm with Lonnie, and we want to know if you and Joe and Marvis will come to Muhammad's suite tonight and have dinner with us. So I got to catch up with Joe, and I'm nervous as hell, man. My palms are sweating. He looks at me and goes, all right, boss, man, let's do it. What time? As simple as could be. I choked right now since saying it, and...
I'm not going to start fighting. I'll just go and say hello, man, you know.
7 years of non-stop trying and pushing and near misses. So we meet and head over to Ali's hotel. And Joe leans down at one point to kind of fix his sock. He's got a holster with a gun in it. Like, what the heck is going on? We get in the hallway. We're literally 3 doors down from Ali's suite. And Marvis starts laughing like a little kid. He goes, you really thought he was gonna come here and shoot Ali? Then we knock on the door, and what a moment. Joe just kind of trots over to him. Muhammad smiling. Joe puts his hand on Ali's leg. Ali puts his hand on Joe's hand. And Joe goes, come on, man, let me help you up. And Muhammad's shoulder's just laying on Joe's shoulder with both of them with tears in their eyes. And Lonnie looks at me and said, hey, Joe. She looks over and says, thank you, because Muhammad just found peace.
He's handicapped. I let him cross the street. I'll stop the trucks. I want a guy to enjoy life like me, enjoy some of the things that he missed.
Joe had a period in his life where I think maybe he was drinking a little too much and there was a little surliness to him. That wasn't really the real Joe Frazier.
I've learned to put a cover over my mouth by saying things that I shouldn't say, if you ever slip out.
The real Joe Frazier was the Joe Frazier that took care of everybody in his neighborhood and took care of the people around him.
There's not too many celebrities out here that can be down to earth like Joe Frazier was. He cared.
If he saw you stranded and your car was pulled over, he got out of his car and got up under the car to see if he could find out what was wrong.
You know, I'm now 16 years old when he took me under his wing. It's just in his DNA to help. You knew you had somebody covering your back, and I don't know any other people really like that to that degree. I mean, what he did for me is unbelievable.
When Nelson Mandela got out of prison, the 2 people he wanted to meet was Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali. So I'm sitting in the room with Joe. He's thinking, I gotta give him something. And on the top of the dresser was his WBC belt. You know, to have a championship belt, that's everything to a boxer. And Joe gave him what was left of him. But Nelson Mandela was tripping that he got to meet Joe Frazier.
Every time you go into the ring, you lose a piece of yourself you can never get back. The question is how much.
I was worried about Joe as he started to get older. His speech was a little slurred. His balance was off.
There's no way, you know, he didn't have some damage from boxing.
At the end of the day, the human body wasn't meant to be beaten like that.
They will pay a price. Joe is no exception to the rule.
And I don't think he was fully intact, but I guess it was worth the price of admission, man. He's a legend.
I'm here talking to you. My mind's all together. My eyes all together. My brain's all together. The fight game, nothing but the best.
I couldn't get him for like 3-4 days. So I'm starting to get worried, and I knew he wasn't feeling good, but I didn't know how serious it was. So I ended up getting Denise on the phone, and she was taking care of him. She goes, he's really sick, he's got cancer.
Lonnie called me on November 5th. I was at Joe's high-rise, and he was already in hospice. And Lonnie said, just saw the news. This is as bad as I've seen Muhammad since his mother passed.
The covers were all the way pulled up on him. I take my phone out, and I got a picture of a woman on there. So I clicked on it, and I put it to him, and I noticed that eye focusing in on him. I guess, Again, oof. He goes, Bo, that's an 18-wheeler. Put that away. So I put it away. He said, when you take your last breath, Lord, forgive me. He said, you'll get right in heaven. That's what he told me. That was it. I held his hand, and then I left. And then like 2 days later, he was gone.
I was a pallbearer that day, along with Sonny Averone and Willie the Worm Monroe, Michael Spinks, and some of the Frazier family, Mark Frazier. And I don't know who was in charge of being the pallbearer stuff, but my hand was the last hand that pushed it in. You know, I got your back, man, because I know you'd have my back. Muhammad Ali, he wasn't in great shape himself, but he stood basically the whole time and clapped the whole time with an action and a speed that I hadn't seen Muhammad use in a long time. They had that special bond, and you could see it there. I wish Joe could have seen it, or maybe he did.
Joe Frazier is one of the greatest fighters of all time. There's only a few guys you can even put in that category. He'd go down, he'd get back up. Joe Frazier had nothing but fight in him.
To this day, it's still like, man, this great man passed away. I'm not putting the words right, but he just seemed like a Superman to me.
The heavyweight champion of the world, Joe Frazier.
Round one.
Superstar, Olympic gold medalist, winning a heavyweight championship back then. He's an icon, absolute icon.
There were no frills about Joe Frazier. He didn't try to hide who he was. I'm Joe Frazier, and I'm gonna be me.
One of the most unfortunate things in sports history is that Joe Frazier ended up having to live under the shadow of Muhammad Ali. Because the Joe Frazier story on its own is so extraordinary that it serves as a beacon to people who face long odds.
The crowd is chanting Ali, and Joe says, come on out and fight.
I love Joe. He knew how to get into your soul. He taught me how to appreciate life.
I got dinner with Denzel Washington. I saw Lionel Richie chasing after him, Pacino, Stallone. Spielberg came over to us with tears in his eyes, asked if he could get some time with them. That always made my heart full, because the funny thing was Joe really didn't know who any of these people were.
It's hard to explain what Joe Frazier's done for me. He's maybe a better father, maybe a better citizen, maybe a better person. I owe a lot to him. I'll never forget it.
Thank you very much, Joe Frazier. Thank you.
What I do and who I know and where I've been is all thanks to Joe Frazier. For me, what better life could you have?
For him to give me the chance that he did, the people that I met working with Joe Frazier, the places that I got to see, the person that I got to know who is Joe Frazier, to be sitting here because of Joe Frazier, unbelievable.
I love Joe Frazier because of what he did. From a fighter to a fighter, he will always have my respect. Joe Frazier was a cornerstone of boxing.
Fight game was good to me. I met a lot of people, been a lot of places, I've done a lot of things. And where would I be if I wasn't a champion? Fighting is...
I don't know anyone who gets the sheer joy of combat the way Joe Frazier does.
Fighting is my love.